This is Boxing Tickets, and we are delighted to join with a nice summer's day in Strabane with one of Ireland's newest professional boxers, Cathal McLaughlin. How are you, Cathal?
All good, bro. How's things?
Things are fantastic, I guess, for you. You're just a little over 2 weeks out from sort of making your professional debut. I got to sort of see you up close and personal at the elite and sheer sports show in Letterkenny and at the end of last year. I guess
That's right.
sort of before we get this sort of current day stage, I always like to go back and sort of time. I guess sometimes when people turn professional, people's going, "Who are you? Why did you get involved in the sport?" So obviously, first time interviews for anybody sort of tuning in for the first time, sort of is more get to know you sort of type. So, Cahill, for you, obviously, I know this is sort of like your second sort of stint within boxing. When did you first start out in boxing and why?
I would have started years ago when I was about 12, 13. I was a wee club in Strabane. Never really took it serious. Was just a bit of crack at start, and then I was always stopping and then going again, and then same old. And then I moved out to Raphoe when I was about 18.
Hmm.
Out to that club by there, and it was just more serious out there, and started taking fights, and then I stopped boxing, then completely went to university, and then after about 5 years out, came back and got back at it because I was just sort of just wanted to get back into training, get into a bit of shape, and then I started entering championships and just started getting better from there, and just love boxing, just love training is the main thing.
Whenever you first started it at 12, was there any family connections involved with boxing in any way, or was it, I've heard of so many boxer stories. I remember, I think Tommy McCarthy, I remember saying before, I think it was Tommy McCarthy, maybe Connor Coyle, they'd said like they'd heard music coming from somewhere and sort of just noseyed more than anything. There was no history for some of them. Obviously, with Connor Coyle is completely different. They have a long line in the family,
Yeah,
but was there anybody else in the family box before, or were you sent there as like a self-defense?
yeah. There's nobody really in my family, to be honest, boxed. My friends were doing it, and then there was sort of nothing else to do in Strabane really, and then just went down and enjoyed the crack of it, like, and then there's nothing else to do during the week, so just fell in love with it there and then, really, like.
Obviously, I guess the Derry and Tyrone sort of areas are obviously there's been so much history, obviously within the sport, not only as amateur, but obviously in professional, and obviously your manager now, in Jason Quiqley, obviously what a career he's had, both amateur and professional. Um,
Yeah.
when you obviously left to go to university, was that you sort of using your head sometimes more the fact that looking for a career sort of, and then maybe boxing could they fall back on sort of if you got a good career wise, or was it was that the whole idea was to go and get an education and then obviously still have boxing as a hobby sort of in the background?
Yeah, it's just you always obviously you have dreams of like being a boxer and stuff, but you sort of have to be smart as well. And I just sort of thought to myself, I don't know if I could go on and be professional or anything like that. So it just says, why not just be smart and go for university and stuff and try to get a degree and obviously try to earn a bit of money and stuff like and keep myself right. But you just never know how far you can actually take it, like,
It's and obviously did you finish off university? What did you go and study and things like that?
So went over. There wasn't much studying done, to be fair. Like, it was more partying than anything. Like, so went over and I did software engineering, and I failed that year, and then I repeated, changed course, and did business, and then I ended up getting my degree as well. And then I got a good job out of it and stuff as well. So I was happy enough that way.
Obviously the business side of things come in well to in boxing, I guess. Growing up sort of, boxing, obviously everybody hears of people being a professional boxer. Sometimes boxers get sort of put in the same bracket as professional footballers where they're earning millions of pounds. Obviously in this boxing game, as you well know, you obviously have to get to the very high level of the sport before you can even think of seven figure fight purses.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what you like. It's only really the big stars and like the big money, really, isn't it? Like, and then everybody thinks, oh, pro boxer's gonna be making a fortune, like, but it's definitely not the case.
It'd be nice all the same. Obviously, it's I think it's classified as the hardest and most brutal sport in the world, and sometimes it's obviously it's the lowest income sort of out of it. When you returned to boxing, then what was it last year? You returned obviously then, and obviously it's your success. Obviously, in the what was it brought you back? Then was it the link up with Gary in raphoe? It sort of brought that all about again.
So obviously, I always kept on with raphoe. So anytime I was back, I was always still training there just for a session, like. And then COVID started, and then I was training away out in the club, but we couldn't fight because of the COVID. And then as soon as championships opened up, then started entering the championships, entered the seniors. I got beaten the Ulster seniors, and then 2 weeks later, I ended up winning the Irish seniors. So it was mad.
It's crazy sometimes, I guess, I think I shared a post yesterday, and obviously Anto Kakachi 7 years ago, where obviously he was robbed for the British title. Sometimes a defeat, you can go one of two ways. You can obviously learn from it, or obviously you can just go, it's just not for me. Like 2 weeks later, obviously you then were a champion. So it's like if you had decided, this boxing game's not for me, you obviously might not have taken that step.
Yeah, because I remember texting my friends too, thinking, geez, I might just pack it in. Because I was just getting fed up with it, like, and then putting in all the training and stuff. And I sort of just, sucked it up high and then went out. I remember just out running non-stop and putting in the extra work then for 2 weeks. I know it's not a long time, but and then just obviously perform well then and the Irish seniors end up winning it.
And obviously speak to me and obviously how the professional debuts come about. Like obviously in that card last year in Letterkenny, obviously Matthew Borden obviously had an exhibition on it as well as yourself. Was that your sort of teaser into it, or was it once you had that teaser of no vest and obviously no head guards and things like that? Was that the taste then where it was like, you know what, I'll give this boxing a go?
It was a good wee taste of what, a good experience, to what it would feel like, because it was a whole big event, from the walkout, the music, the crowd, selling tickets, the night out after and all. It was like a proper big event, like, and I definitely enjoyed it. So that sort of put it in my head then the thoughts of like, going professional maybe for a few fights and seeing how far you can take it as well. Like.
It's obviously I remember in the night. Obviously, I think that the standout fight of the night was obviously Matthew Borden's. But from what I can remember from memory in my head of that night was obviously you had a lot of support there. I guess with it being in Letterkenny as well, probably helped a big thing. Like, do you have a big fan base? Obviously, turning over.
I would do, like, obviously Strabane people, they're always a good fan base. And then have fans from, Derry and raphoe as well. Like, it's not just Strabane, but Strabane's, that's where all my good friends are, and they'll be bringing a bus load up on 3rd of August anyway.
Obviously, I remember obviously Brett McGinty. Obviously, he's obviously had a few fights, and he always seemed to have a good support. Like I guess the one thing sometimes is obviously around that area. Obviously other than Letterkenny, obviously at the end of last year, you really have to travel to sort of Belfast for shows. But I guess for you in a way, you can sort of sell it to people for a night out at the same time.
Yeah, that's it. Any excuse to get on the beer, the Strabane ones are on it. So it'll be a good night.
Definitely, and like what a card, obviously, to make your debut on. Like, but you probably thought potentially of obviously turning pro. Do you think of the card you're going to be on? Like, there's five of these making your debut in the same night. Tyrone McKenna back in action, Caoimhin agyarko. You know, the card's stacked with talent, and it's going to be streamed. I'm not sure if the whole card will be streamed worldwide in DAZN, but like you probably couldn't ask for a better opportunity to open up.
Yeah, because I just remember I was going on holidays to Tenerife and just about to get in the plane, Jason rang me and says, well, lad, how do you feel like making your debut in the SSE arena? And I was in shock. Like, I couldn't really believe it. Like, and it's all came out then. It's just mad.
It's hard to take Jay serious sometimes. Obviously, I know he likes to have a laugh and a joke. Sometimes you're sort of going, you probably come off the phone, you're probably going, is Jay in the wind up because he knows I'm heading away to Tenerife here and doesn't want me to go too heavy at it, you know. Um,
Uh,
but like what a venue, like I keep saying to obviously people, it's the Frank Warren show and stuff there was the other week, like the fighters that have fought there in the past, your Framptons, your Burnett's, Michael Conlans, everybody's sort of been there at some stage of their career. For you to make that walkout in your pro debut, like how can it get any better than that?
it doesn't get any better, really. Like, I mean, 2 years ago, I went up to watch a Conlan card up there, and just to think within 2 years I'm fighting in there, it's just complete madness. Like, if I had to go back, 2 years ago and think I'd be fighting an SSE and someone told me I'd be fighting there, I wouldn't believe them. Like,
You definitely think somebody was
just
obviously on the wind up. What
yeah.
what can people expect obviously of Cathal McLaughlin? Obviously, she turnover. Obviously, you seem to be obviously someone that likes to have a tear up. You seem to be in close and sort of go a bit at war, like it's sort of like a Tyrone McKenna style. You like to boxing, like a phone box type fight. Like what can people expect obviously of you as a pro?
Um, I definitely expect a lot of punches. I like to get in close, definitely, but I want to show people as well I can box. But like when it comes to fighting, I'll stand and fight as well. So expect definitely a lot of in the pocket stuff as well.
I guess obviously sometimes when you get put on the spot, and somebody goes, what can you expect? I guess sometimes it's hard to obviously they promote your sort of self in some ways where you're sort of going, like, what type of fighter am I? I guess the best way for people to know is they either they tune in or they buy a ticket. Obviously, that's probably the best way that people will be able to base their own opinions of you. Um, how
That's
have
it.
you, how have you found obviously then, obviously being with Gary and obviously Jerry, obviously in Raphoe, how have you sort of found the transition across from amateur? Not long ago you were boxing as an amateur, you changing over as a pro. I guess it'll probably take you a few fights to probably come to terms with the fact that for the first few you'll be in there with journeyman level type fighters, so they're not going to be in your
Mm,
face as much, and they're probably going to make you look like $1 million.
yeah. Um, I'm seeing training now. We're just working on slowing everything down, planting your feet more, looking for more power shots, moving the head more. So it's just something new. I'm definitely enjoying it, like, because I wasn't getting sick of the amateurs, like, but I was just sort of like doing the same thing, like, and it's just something completely new. It's like you're a novice again, so it's class.
It's definitely it's strange sometimes to think that amateur boxing and professional boxing they're two completely different sports. Obviously there's
Yeah,
the Olympics coming up now in a couple of weeks' time, and I struggle sometimes with amateur boxing because even though there's five judges, and I know in some bouts now there's seven with two independent judges, it's hard to score fights. Whereas obviously in professional boxing, it's a lot easier to obviously understand. So, like for you, I guess it's get in there, go hell for leather. And they'll say people have obviously not been good amateurs, they've been brilliant professionals. So, like, background doesn't really sort of come into it sometimes in this sport. Like I've seen people coming away from white collar fights and fighting for world titles. Like you've no limit. Like where do you sort of set your limits? What would you like to achieve as a pro?
um, I would like to win some sort of belt anyway. That's obviously the next goal, but just get through these fights first and just see how, like I say, see how far I can take it. But a belt would be unbelievable.
And what weight class are you going to campaign at? Obviously, at the start, you'll probably be above your natural weight of where you were, where you will fight, but where will you look to aim to campaign at?
Yeah, well, I'm down the middleweight there now at the minute. Um, I'll just see how I feel, strength wise and stuff. And then if I want to go on down, I say I probably could go on down, definitely with my build and stuff. But it's just obviously I want to feel good at the weight as well and strong and not be losing any power or anything like that.
There's definitely plenty, obviously, of super welterweights, 154 fighters, obviously, in Ireland. So I guess when the time comes, obviously, in a year, 18 months, 2 years down the line, whenever you're ready in title contention, there's plenty of names there. And, it seems to be that domestic Irish fights are the fights that sell everything nowadays. So, like, even having an all domestic fight, that's where you can find your level sometimes or find, I'm actually better than this level, I can go further.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind a few of them domestic fights, definitely. Like, be good old balls, and it does be good old like, atmosphere and hype. And seems to be at the minute, Irish boxing seems to be flying, like, really.
It is definitely flying. Obviously, I know Jason obviously was in the running, obviously, for a big fight with Diego Pacheco there, and that didn't come through. But, like, obviously, we have our first male world champion in 5 years. Katie Taylor's been leading the way for years. Like, it seems to be now we have a conveyor belt of talent coming through. It's just a case before we have another world champion.
Yeah,
You know,
that's it. Hopefully they're on that level someday.
definitely be nice, wouldn't it? The
Would
obviously, is there any sponsors? Anybody else you want to obviously give a shout out for obviously helping you prepare for your professional debut?
um obviously my coaches Gary and Jerry, and then Raphoe Boxing Club, everybody at Raphoe. So I wouldn't have got here obviously without any of them. And then obviously Jason and Sheer Sports were taking me on, which was good of them. And then I have a strength conditioning coach as well too, who's literally I'm doing training with him like sprints and stuff, and I've never like been scared to go to training more in my life. Like it's like sparring and stuff feels like a break. Like his training sessions are crazy. So it's a boy called Danny Doherty from Strabane,
Mhm.
um, lethal coach, and then just all my sponsors as well. So who's my sponsors?
I'll apologize for you in case you leave anybody out. You know, sometimes you're putting a squad,
Uh,
it's hard to remember them all.
I'm just trying to think. I haven't got everybody on board yet. So there's McLaughlin Tiles and Bathrooms. There's MGS Sports from Strabane. There is McGuigan's Bar and Balbuffet, who sponsored me over 3 years. And then there's um, the Waterfront Bar in Strabane. And there's more to come as well, but it's just, I haven't got chatting to them yet.
You haven't got chatting to him. Well, I guess the good thing is obviously you've got sponsors involved because, like, you know, professional boxing can't obviously happen without obviously the sponsors. So great, obviously, on the sponsors coming involved, and hopefully you can keep adding to the list. Obviously, the many sponsors makes it easier for you as you build your career. Um, but look,
100%.
Carl, obviously, I'll thank you for your time. Obviously, I look forward to obviously seeing you in action, obviously in fight week, and obviously fighting on the 3rd of August. But thanks very much for your time, and I'm sure no doubt we'll catch up here in Belfast.
Thank you. 100%. See you then.
Cheers, Carl. Take care. Thanks. Bye
Good
bye.
luck. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye.